What do your customers get from you that's different from what they'd get from anyone else? Do you do it better? How would customers know it? How would they feel it? And many of you have probably gone through this exercise in your own organizations, and many of you have probably gone through it multiple times as your businesses have evolved and matured. And one of the things that makes this question valuable in our present conversation about back office strategies is it can quickly weed out the things that have to get done, but that are not part of your core value proposition. Those are things that are taking your attention, but you're not really getting a strong return on them. For example, would anyone in the audience put, we pay our bills on time on their billboard? We reconcile our bank activity every month. Is that a billboard statement? And we do our month-end close and reporting accurately. We make sure each employee we hire has a computer to do their work on. We ensure each of our employees has to log on to our information systems, and we run antivirus software on our computers. None of those are really billboard statements, but they're all things that you're dealing with because they have to get done in order to be able to conduct business. Now, are those important? Yeah. Are they core to the value proposition you offer? Yeah, probably not. Now, if you haven't already, however you like to take notes, pull up or jot down your own business's core value proposition. That note's for you and your reference to glance at as Jennifer and I walk through some examples on how to think through your back office functions to help you prioritize your focus. And I'll hand it back over to Jennifer at this point.
Thanks, Chad. So when we talk about your core value proposition and then how we use that to optimize our business, we're really thinking about where do we spend our time, energy, uniqueness, and we'll get there in a second on an exercise to think through that. But, how do we either outsource, leverage technology, push things down to a lower level resource to make the non-core parts of the business very scalable and achievable? An example was I had a conversation with a client yesterday, and she happened to be talking about the business she used to work at. And she was saying like their biggest barrier to growth was hiring people, and she was actually an HR person. And so you look at, oh, well, then that means if we don't have to hire people to do things to grow, that might make that business better. And she even talked about how they were going into different areas where it was easier to hire people than where they started. She had worked at a company that was trying to hire nurses, which were obviously very hard to find. So now they were looking at other areas of home health that weren't nursing, as an example. But the key here on the optimization is to really do and control what you do best, and then kind of leave the rest to the side. And not that you don't have to do it, because you still have to pay your bills, to use Chad's example, or get your employees a computer. But control what you do best, and then kind of leave the rest to get done. And this can be especially important in a period of high rapid growth or a recession, because it's tends to be hard to scale up these back office functions quickly in a period of high growth. It's also very hard to scale them back down in a period of recession when you have specialized people doing different things. And so, what we saw in like 2008, 2009, 2014, when oil prices dropped, and then, even during COVID, was those clients that kind of focused on these core areas and spent their time on it, that the things they did to improve their business really stuck through then when they grew up again. And so it tends, these times of transition tend to create opportunities. And we're going to go through an exercise to think through this. So when we evaluate our business functions, and we did an example here of some back office functions, your list may be different than this, and I would suggest tailoring it to you, but this is general. First is to kind of focus on, do these areas support our core value proposition? If they do, we should keep it, theoretically, we should keep it in-house and invest to do it better. And if they don't, then we should look at how do we spend less time thinking about and doing these things than what we spend today. And one area to do that is leverage another company's investment in their core value proposition, which may be some of these things. Or another way you can do it is automating some of these functions. And if we kind of look at these examples, so an operations example, I work with a lot of manufacturing clients, right? And they're always, generally they want to control every product that's put into their end product, right? But they realize I can't build every piece of this, and I can't build it cost effectively. If it's something that's really core to the product and core to the value they give a customer, they may go figure out how to build it, open another plant, buy a business that builds it so they can customize it to them. If it's not, they should subcontract that part of it out. That's why There's all kinds of subcontractors in manufacturing that build component parts to end up in product. If we think about it, in terms of sales and marketing, right? Like most companies have some sales and marketing people, but they may not have like graphic design in-house because that's not an area that you want to hire a full-time specialist for. You may want to, and it's probably not your core value proposition either, but it's an area you need. Accounting's got a ton of examples and we'll drill into some of those, but as we go through the presentation. And then the second part of this, right, is it something that unique to you? So does it need to be done in a special way to your business? So if we go back to kind of some of the previous examples I talked about, operations, when clients tend to, like on the manufacturing side, when I want to build a component part of my product, it's because I want it very unique and specific to me, and I have a hard time getting it anywhere else. I think with supply chain issues a year ago, everyone wanted to build every part of their product, but you still couldn't get the raw materials to do it. So, but it's got to be something that kind of supports both areas to really say, yes, I have to focus on that and then not the other areas. Another example in accounting might be where bill pay is something that, it's not your core value proposition, probably not unique to you. Most bill paying processes are pretty similar. Invoicing to customers may be unique because you're communicating things to your customers on what you did and how you did it and why it costs that. Another example of something that maybe doesn't hit either of these buttons, right? That's a reduced focus area was we worked with a client where the business owner was doing weekly payroll herself in the system and not outsourcing it and spending 4 hours a week doing that. And that 4 hours could be freed up doing a lot of other more value-added things to that business that were more important. Not that getting people paid is not important, it's just not 4 hours of time important if you can leverage that. Other considerations that come into this besides the core proposition and uniqueness are they recurring tasks? Are they non-recurring tasks? What level of knowledge is required for the underlying tasks? And is that a full-time need for us or not a full-time need?